being able to contribute and build is by far more interesting than joining something that's already been established. One of the exciting things about the advanced pharmaceutical manufacturing industry, this cluster that's being groomed and grown here in this region, is that it's just starting. The excitement of the new ideas and the ways in which to do business is happening every day here in the Richmond-Petersburg region.
During the pandemic, members of our coalition in the greater Richmond and Petersburg market recognized that there was a critical shortage of essential medicines in the U.S. and the need to reshore the making of those medicines. And that is a key factor in what we are working on here in our market.
It's an exciting time in this region because we have all of these companies that are touching different parts of the pharmaceutical ecosystem. And then we've created a coalition that's creating a workforce and attracting other companies to the region. So we're really working together to build up the pharmaceutical sector in this part of the state.
It's been an honor and a privilege to be able to have this coalition of groups, whether they're economic development groups, service organizations, community colleges, and other universities, as well as other public and private companies coming together through a common cause to try to work in solving this critical national public health security issue.
Those collaborations have been able to create what we call the Alliance for Building Better Medicine.
There's a great desire to actually build this industry here in Virginia.
Virginia is rich for business, and this is an incredible opportunity to expand on an industry like pharmaceuticals. What's happening in Petersburg is one of the most exciting things I think happening in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Over $500 million in federal grants have been applied to that area, close to $1 billion when you factor in private investment, public investment, federal and state investment.
You want to be part of a remarkable team and be part of a whole change of a culture of a region. This is the place to be.
It takes a village. There are so many people involved, and the reshoring of activities, it cuts across sectors and organizations and components of our economy that you wouldn't even think of.
I want to bring the collaboration at the community, the grassroots level. And I think that we have to operate at both levels and even in between to bring that and build that awareness of the opportunities for this region.
The Alliance has really shown me what is possible when education, training, economic and workforce development, localities and business and industry with vision come together.
The way that we prepare a workforce pipeline for biotechnology and pharmaceutical manufacturing in the region is we offer training programs that are sector-led. And by sector-led, that means that we've met with employers and we continue to meet with employers, and they tell us the competencies they need in their employees. And then we build academic programs that develop those competencies for the future workforce.
It connects academic institutions with the companies that put themselves here physically, and this is the cluster.
We have the structure and facilities in place that allow our researchers to develop manufacturing insights that allow us to breathe new life into new and existing manufacturing processes.
All of the work that we're doing here in Central Virginia, it's having an impact on the country as a whole and also internationally with regards to other areas of the world.
Any company that's looking to expand in the life sciences industry would want to consider Virginia as their home. I think that Virginia has a unique opportunity to make a global impact in the life sciences region, and the collaborative suite of companies that are here are already doing that work, and more that join us, we can only make that impact a little bit greater.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us for the Alliance for Building Better Medicine Supply Chain Webinar Information Series. The series will explore and inform the audience about the growing advanced pharmaceutical manufacturing and biotech ecosystem developing in the Richmond-Petersburg, Virginia region. My name is Vanessa Womack, and I am the Inclusive Community Development Consultant for the Alliance. This webinar will explore cybersecurity and how it supports the Alliance efforts to ensure the security of the production of affordable medicines in the United States. GENEDGE launched a program to enhance cybersecurity for small and medium-sized pharmaceutical suppliers. Our guest is David Bartlow of GENEDGE, and he will discuss this. Welcome, David. Let's get started. Could you provide a summary of your role in cybersecurity at GENEDGE?
Well, hello, and thank you for having me. A quick summary of my role at GENEDGE is I am the Director of Programs at GENEDGE, but I've started off at GENEDGE working on a project to help defense industrial base manufacturers, supply chain for the DoD, improve their cybersecurity. And I think that's relevant to what we're doing now, because what we're trying to do is take a lot of what we did in that program and how we helped the defense industrial base and those manufacturers and apply that to the pharmaceutical supply chain and help those pharmaceutical suppliers improve their cybersecurity posture.
Now, David, you are prepared to walk the audience through a demonstration of cybersecurity tools on the GENEDGE website that support the members of the Alliance. The camera is yours.
Well, thank you. And what we're going to do is switch to the web page here. And what I want to do is a quick demonstration of some of the tools that we've pulled together over the last few months to help those pharmaceutical suppliers. So if you go to the web page, the first thing that you'll see to get to these resources is to go to the GENEDGE webpage. So this is genedge.org, as you can see on the screen here. So when you go to the webpage, this brings you to our homepage. And in order to get to all these great tools that we've developed, you do have to go through our gateway. So you do have to sign up for our GENEDGE Alliance so we can keep track of who's using the tools. So from this GENEDGE homepage, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, as you see here, you'll eventually get to something that looks like this, which is the Join the Alliance button. So if you click on that button, it will take you to a form to fill out. And that form is relatively quick and easy to fill out. We don't ask for credit card information or anything like that. It's just contact information, the location of your company, some basic information like that. Once you fill out this Alliance form, again, it's free, no cost for any of this, it will bring you to an area inside of our gateway, which is a more customized page for you. Now, this has a lot of great resources on it for all manufacturers. Again, GENEDGE's mission is to support all manufacturers across all industries within the state. But for these purposes, the thing that you're going to be interested in is right here on the center of the page, you will see pharmaceutical supplier resources. So what we've tried to do with this program is pull together all of this information so that it's quick, one-stop shop, fast reference for anybody who is in the pharmaceutical supply chain who wants to start the process of improving their cybersecurity posture. So if you click on this link in the middle of the page, it brings you to a page that looks like this, which is pharmaceutical supplier resources. And here again, we've got a lot of great resources. You can see on the screen some of the more relevant cybersecurity frameworks that apply. We've got a lot of great reference information on here. One of the things that we've discovered in helping first DoD companies and now pharmaceutical manufacturing companies is on the DoD side, the cybersecurity framework is pretty much set. It's the CMMC, the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, is the broad cybersecurity framework that all companies within the defense industrial base have to align with. On the pharmaceutical side, it gets a little bit more complicated. There are a few different frameworks that companies could potentially follow. Certainly, if you're a pharmaceutical company that's also supplying the DoD supply chain, CMMC will apply. If not, there are some other cybersecurity frameworks that could apply. So you have a choice, and you get to choose which one is most applicable to your company. And what we wanted to do was provide some resources to make that choice and make that decision a little bit clearer and as easy as possible. So one of the things that you will see on this cybersecurity website that we've pulled together is a cybersecurity comparison tool. So what we've done is we've taken all of the possible cybersecurity frameworks that could apply and consolidated them all onto this webpage and onto a spreadsheet, which I'm showing here, which shows all of the different frameworks across the top. And in each column, we have a breakdown of some of the different attributes of each of these cybersecurity frameworks. Again, to help start the process of figuring out which cybersecurity framework is most applicable to your company. Some of the more popular ones that we've seen is CMMC within the pharmaceutical supply chain. Again, if you have any DoD clients or you're anywhere in the DoD supply chain, that's the one that's going to apply. But the other one that we're seeing that's very popular is the NIST CSF, or Cybersecurity Framework. So we've got all of that information here. But there are a few others as well that we've come across as we've worked with experts to pull this together. One is the Health Industry Cyber Practices, or HICP. I call it the hiccup. And then Health and Human Services has their own healthcare sector-specific cyber performance goals. So there's all these different frameworks to choose from. What we try to do is tee up all the information to make that decision as easy as possible. So that's the comparison table that we've pulled together. Going back to the web page, the other thing that we've pulled together is a requirements framework selection tool. So what you'll see on the page here now is a flow chart that allows you to work through some of the key decision points to help you determine which cybersecurity framework would apply. So for example, as we've mentioned, if you're anywhere within the DoD supply chain, then CMMC is most likely going to apply. Depending on who your other customers or clients might be, there are other frameworks that may apply. Depending on the type of information that you're handling, there are other frameworks that would apply. So what we tried to do is pull together a flow chart that helps you with that decision process. So very briefly, the way this works is along the top row, you'll see a list of criteria or questions that you could answer, and then you drop down, and then depending on your answer to that question, it directs you where to go to the next step. And on the far right, you'll see all the different cybersecurity frameworks, and working your way through the tool, you'll eventually land on a framework that's most applicable to your business. So again, trying to make what's a very difficult decision or can be a very confusing decision as simple and as clear-cut as possible. The last tool that we've pulled together that we're really excited about and we think will be very helpful is, no matter which cybersecurity framework you select, whichever one is most applicable to your company, one of the first things that you'll have to put into place is a plan of action and milestones, or POA&M. Regardless of what tool you're going to regardless of what framework you put in place, that's one of the foundational documents to help you get started to improving your cybersecurity posture. On the DoD side, this was a very important first step that was required for all companies to show that they've at least assessed their current cybersecurity posture and compared it against one of the tools, one of the frameworks that they're going to pursue. One of the misconceptions about cybersecurity in general, and for anyone who's just starting out with this, is that it's very technical. And it certainly has its technical aspects, right? You have to protect your emails, you have to protect your data, but a lot of meeting the requirements across all frameworks is having the proper documentation in place. It's much more of a people problem, documentation and training and policy and procedures, than it is even a technical problem. And so what we wanted to do is help kickstart that process of getting the appropriate documentation in place. One of those foundational documents is the plan of action and milestones, and so that's what we've created a tool to help you build from scratch. So going back to the cybersecurity framework page, one of the links that you'll see is to begin pharmaceutical supplier cybersecurity assessment. And that brings you to a page that looks like this. We've created this online document that, an online form that you can go in and fill out. It takes about 10 or 15 minutes at the most. It's about 11 questions. And the output from this is that you will receive a customized plan of action and milestones. A plan of action and milestones that gives you start dates and end dates for all the different activities that you have to perform. It gives you key milestones. It gives you a risk management breakdown. All of the key elements for a typical plan of action and milestones is generated by doing this assessment. Again, free, no cost. It takes a few minutes to fill out, and it really helps get you started on the right path to improving your cybersecurity posture. So I would encourage everyone to take a look at these tools. This is really for companies that are either starting out and trying to figure out which cybersecurity framework they want to use and taking those first steps towards improving their cybersecurity posture. But also, if you've already gone down this road a little bit and you'd like to get a second opinion, it doesn't cost anything to take a look at these tools and maybe compare them to what you have already. So we think that they're very helpful and useful, and we certainly hope that people will use them.
Thank you, David, for that demonstration. I just have one last question. How critical is cybersecurity relative to national security as it relates to our supply chain?
Sure. Cyber, particularly on the defense side, and what we're starting to see in the pharmaceutical side as well, is that our adversaries have recognized pretty quickly that the further you go into the supply chain, the more vulnerable the information is, right? So think of our major defense weapon systems, for example. Our adversaries have figured out that they're not going to get that information by going to the government, because that information is protected. They're not going to even get that information by going to the prime contractors, like your Lockheed Martins or your Boeings or your L3 Technologies. But the further you go up into that supply chain, it's the same information that those suppliers are working on, but it's not as secure. It's less vulnerable, or it's more vulnerable. Those smaller suppliers don't have the resources to protect their information in the same way that the prime contractors or even the government does. So that's a real vulnerability that the DoD is trying to fix on their side. And I think there's a movement now to also try to apply that same methodology to other sectors, including pharmaceutical. So to answer the question, there's really two main benefits. One is that it just makes the information more secure, which is very important. And information should be secure for the sake of information being secure. But also as a practical business matter, securing information also helps you meet requirements, either current or future requirements. So it gets you ahead of the curve on some of those business decisions that you're going to have to make. And it also becomes a differentiator. More and more what we're finding in the marketplace is that the government and prime contractors are looking for secure supply chains. And so if you can demonstrate that you have invested in improving your cybersecurity and your cybersecurity practices and procedures are better than your competitors, then that's going to give you an advantage in the marketplace. So there's really two answers to this. One is we should be protecting information for the sake of national security, and it's the right thing to do. But also as a practical business matter, it also makes a lot of sense to secure your information and make yourself more competitive in the marketplace.
This will conclude the demonstration. Thank you for joining us. We will proceed to Q&A.
Thanks so much, David, for the demonstration. It was very, very helpful and very informative. So with our participants, I encourage you now, if you like to put your questions in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourselves, please feel free to do so. I'm going to ask you, what have you learned to the participants? What have you learned about cybersecurity that you probably didn't know before? So open discussion.
Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, how are you, Myron?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you.
It's good to see you.
Yes, I can open to make it easier for everybody. So I'm intrigued to hear the speaker's statement about the suppliers base when you try to conduct business with the buyers to strengthen your cybersecurity capacity. That's a very good point, because in supplier chain assistance or capacity training, we always stress about access to capital, having a good business plan, everything. But normally we don't talk about strengthening your cyber security capacity, which is a very good point.
Well, thank you so much. And I know that you know what you're talking about. David, you want to emphasize any other points that Mylene mentioned?
No, I think that's a good point, and that's something that we try to emphasize. In the video, I talked about that cybersecurity flowchart that helps you decide which cybersecurity framework applies to you. If you open that up, you'll notice that one of the very, very first boxes talks about what do your clients want to see in terms of your cybersecurity posture. And we always felt like that's a good place to start, and that conversation helps can help guide you in which cybersecurity framework you should pursue. So I completely agree. I think that that discussion with your current and direct clients is always a good place to start trying to figure out which cybersecurity path you should go down.
Yes. Yeah, and I understand there is a lot of certification. One of them being called the CMMP, is a very long title that's very hard to obtain. But if you can have that certification, it costs at least $5,000 to obtain, I believe.
Okay. We have a thank you so much again, and thanks for being on this call. We have a question in the chat, David. I know you see it, but I will read it aloud. And it asks, do you have suggestions of small steps that companies can start to take to improve their cybersecurity if they're not quite ready to take major steps?
Definitely, that's a good question, and that was really our target audience for all the tools that we pulled together for this effort. In particular, I want to emphasize that final cybersecurity POAM tool that I talked about towards the end of the video. And there's actually a link in the chat here for the video if you want direct access to it. I think that is the best place to start for companies that are just starting this journey down the path of cybersecurity. Maybe you're not sure yet which way to go, and maybe you want to dip your toe in the water without causing too much of a large ripple. That's a really great place to start. And the way that we've set it up is that it's very easy to use, and you could use it as often as you want. So you could even go into that tool, that POAM generator, and run a few different scenarios for your company. So for example, you could fill it out and say, well, let's assume I have all of my documentation in place. What would a plan of action and milestones look like? And you could run that scenario. And then you could come back again at no cost, at your own convenience, and run a different scenario of, maybe I have all my cybersecurity documentation in place, but I still need to do a risk assessment, and then see what a POAM would look like after that. So the direct answer to the question is, a good place to start is with a plan. And I think we've got a good tool that doesn't cost anything, takes about 10 or 15 minutes to complete, and helps get you that plan in place.
Okay. Any other? I don't see any other questions, and I'd like to get maybe you can answer this with our APM cluster and growing ecosystem. For the types of companies that will use your cybersecurity tools, does that only apply directly to the manufacturers, or as we're growing this ecosystem, what are some of the, I guess, peripheral types of companies that could take advantage of your cybersecurity tools?
Absolutely. And the target audience for this is not necessarily pharmaceutical companies themselves, but anyone within the supply chain network offering a variety of different products or services. So it's any companies that are supporting the pharmaceutical cluster in the area can take advantage of this tool. And that's definitely who we're marketing it towards, and who we think would get the most benefit from it. But really, the tool is open to anybody. So really, any company could go in there and use it to try to get a feel for the type of actions they should take. But to your point, it's definitely any type of company. It doesn't have to be a pharmaceutical manufacturer. These companies need a variety of products and services. So any of those supporting companies are welcome to try out the tool.
Do you provide training? I'm sure you do, to companies in the United States, here in the Commonwealth, or does it matter to use your tools?
Sure. I think that, our focus is on Virginia companies, obviously, but that could also mean companies that are supporting Virginia companies, even if they're beyond the borders. So if there is a company that is providing support to a Virginia manufacturer or a Virginia pharmaceutical company that happens to be located in, North Carolina or Maryland or some other state, they're also welcome to use the tool. We're trying to grow our pharmaceutical cluster, and we recognize that that might mean that some of that support network lies outside of Virginia's borders. So as long as they're supporting Virginia companies, they're welcome to participate or to use the tool as well.
Okay. All right. We still have a few more minutes left in this. Okay, Mylan. In August in Newport News, we would invite Mr. Bartlow to address, hey, you've got an invitation already, David, to talk about cybersecurity. And if you don't know who Mylene Tran is, she's very, very prominent in this supply chain space in this area, and as you can see in other areas in the Commonwealth. So if Mylene, you have his, or if you can put your email in the chat so she can reach out to you. And I think that'd be great. And if anyone else would like to reach David, he's putting that out. Okay, great, great. Thank you, thank you. See, I didn't know I was going to get you some more business.
How about that?
Okay, there's going to be a survey popping up shortly, so we encourage everyone to take the survey. And if you are in a room with someone other than yourself who's watching this video, we'd like for you to put the number of people in the room in the chat or in the survey when it pops up. As we all do, we have to gather data. And so we are very excited to know that you're not the only ones watching this. And all these webinars can be found on the Alliance for Building Better Medicine or on YouTube, on the website. So make sure that you access any of the previous videos. And I see that someone has, from Paul, he's put in some additional websites where you can capture more information about our growing advanced pharmaceutical manufacturing eco and biotech ecosystem in this region. So make sure you capture some of those websites, and I'll continue to put those in each webinar we have had. But did you know that this is number 6 of 7 webinars? We have been rolling along. This is, yes, we have been rolling along with these webinars. So that means that we have one more left. And that will take place 2 weeks from today with Dr. Frank Gupton, who's the founder of Medicines for All at VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University. And we want to make sure that you know about that upcoming webinar, which will conclude our series on February 18th. And I'm going to put a direct link in the chat. So if you want to copy that direct link and put it in your calendar for February 18th, feel free to do that. But also watch out for any social media, particularly on LinkedIn or through any of the email groups or networking groups that you have, to let them know that the last of the series featuring Dr. Frank Gupton, VCU Medicines for All, will be on February 18th at the same time. Same bat channel, same bat time. So thanks so much, everyone who's completing or still completing the poll. Any lasting or any questions anyone would like to put before not only David, but me, or I have a couple of other colleagues who might be able to answer any questions. Anyone else has any questions?
Vanessa, I would love to invite you and or Mr. Bartlow to be a speaker in one of our Lunch and Learn also webinar. So a webinar can develop other webinars.
Wow, wonderful. You know how to get in touch with me.
Yes, thank you.
So thank you so much. And David, do you have any other parting words?
No, just thank you so much for the opportunity to speak about this. I think that this is one thing, particularly for the pharmaceutical industry, the earlier you get started, the less expensive it's going to be. Right? At some point down the road, these recommendations might turn into firm requirements, and then it gets really expensive to do cybersecurity work when you're trying to do it in a very compressed amount of time. So getting started earlier and making small investments along the way, and starting here with some of the tools that we provided, I think will set you up for success in the future. So thank you for having me today, and it was a fun conversation.
Oh, thank you. I'm so glad you were able to join us. And we have one more person just pop in. So, Cal, I know that you've been on our previous ones. You probably missed the beginning, but we're wrapping up with the cybersecurity. So, if you had a question you want to pop in real quick, you can answer it. Otherwise, you can see this whole webinar on the website that Paul has put in the link. So thank you all ever so much. And just remember, 2 weeks from today, we have Dr. Frank Gupton, the founder of Medicines for All and at VCU. And Mylan, we will be in touch, or you will be in touch with us. And
yes, thank you very much.
all right. Thanks again. And this concludes our webinar.